Hello, and once again, greetings from the vicarage. Can you believe this is the 18th Sunday that we haven't been into church? But we are getting closer. Our first service is in a couple of weeks' time. As I said last week, because of the number of people that we can safely fit into the church, we're having to send invites out to all the services. Everyone will receive an invite to at least one service a month. One thing I would ask, if for any reason you can't or don't feel able to attend, please could you let me know so that I can invite somebody else. There is no pressure whatsoever to attend, especially if you've been shielding or you feel that you would rather wait for another month. The services will be different each week, but we've tried to invite you to a service that you will be familiar with. Each month there will be 2 common worship services, like the old 9:30 service, 1 prayer book service, like the 8 o'clock, 1 family service, like the new service that we started last week, and 1 Wednesday Book of Common Prayer service. With the exception of the family service, all the other services will include Holy Communion. This will consist only of the bread, and I will come to you in your seats and serve you. As always, there's no pressure to take or receive Holy Communion, and you're very welcome to receive a blessing instead. Today is the 7th Sunday after Trinity, and the chosen readings are from 1 Kings chapter 3 verses 5 to 12, and that's from the Old Testament, and from Matthew's Gospel chapter 13 verses 31 to 33 and 44 to 52. The passage from 1 Kings is all about Solomon, and it's about his wisdom. I'm sure that if you were asked what you know about Solomon, you'd probably say that he was a very wise man and he built a temple in Jerusalem. Both are true, although there's a lot more to learn about him. Solomon's wisdom came from a dream where he had a conversation with God. Before he built his famous temple in Jerusalem, he visited a shrine a few miles from the city and offered to God many sacrifices. That night, God came to him in a dream and invited him to ask for anything that he wanted. He answered God and told him that he was like a little child who doesn't know what's around him. So please could he have understanding and an understanding mind so that he could govern your people well and know the difference between right and wrong. It's an interesting thought. If you were in Solomon's position, what would you ask for? Obviously, Solomon impressed God, and he gave him everything he asked for and a lot more. Following this experience, Solomon built Israel's first permanent temple, which stood for over 400 years. Before the temple was built, people worshipped in tents. And he built the temple on the hilltop in Jerusalem, where the Jews had been worshipping for many years. In that temple, the priests offered sacrifices in the outer courtyard and burned incense inside the main sanctuary. And once a year, on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the priest was allowed into the most sacred room, which was panelled entirely of gold. This room was called the Most Holy Place, and it held Israel's most sacred relic, the Ark of the Covenant, a gold-covered chest containing the 10 Commandments. The priest would sprinkle blood of a sacrificed bull as one of the many rituals and then leave until next year. Now, when I went into St Mary's for the first time after lockdown, there was a real feeling I felt of entering a most holy place. I knew that all of us had been in hundreds or thousands of times, but being locked out and constantly seeing the church door locked for such a long time, when I was allowed in, I felt something quite different. Whether it's because I knew that the building had been sealed for so long, and this was the very first time that the silence was being disturbed, I'm not sure. But I imagine something of what the priests must have felt after being chosen to enter such a sacred place. Solomon's temple was eventually destroyed by the Babylonians in the year 586 BC. The second temple was built on the same site and was started some 50 years later and took about 21 years to build. Around 20 BC, it was renovated and extended by Herod the Great, and then it became known as Herod's Temple. And this is a temple that Jesus visited. Sadly, it only lasted until 70 AD, when it was destroyed during the siege of Jerusalem. Another temple was attempted, but before its completion there was an earthquake which destroyed it. After the Muslim conquest in the 7th century, an Islamic shrine was built, the Dome of the Rock on Temple Mount. The mosque is there today and sits on what was the temple courtyard. In our reading from Matthew's Gospel, Jesus gives us some more parables to explain the kingdom of heaven. The first one is the mustard seed, and Jesus uses this to show us that his kingdom has small beginnings but will grow and produce great results. I'm reminded daily when I look out the window of the work that is taking place in the backfields constructing HS2. Whilst there has only been a small gap in the trees to allow for access that I can see, I hear the chainsaws most days taking down the ancient trees that have been a part of that wood for a long time. Whilst I was in the churchyard the other day, I had a look at the sapling that came from the ancient pear tree. And as you'll see from the photo, I'm pleased to say that it is growing and thriving. And one day it will be a great tree in the churchyard that birds can come and find shelter in its branches. God's kingdom began small and was barely visible, but it grew and had a great impact on the world. Today, it is still having an important impact on our modern world as people begin to explore the meaning of life. The people of the Old Testament, like Solomon, looked to God, well, most of the time anyway, and he pointed the way to Jesus, the Messiah. Jesus came and continued to offer guidance on faith and how to live in the world, just like in the scriptures of the Old Testament. But he also revealed a new treasure, the kingdom of heaven, and he said that it was here and with us now. We don't have to wait until we die to experience the majesty of his kingdom. Jesus has allowed us to experience the joy of being with him here and now. So whatever happens in our world or in our lives, we can be sure that God knows all about it, because he is with us here and now. Amen.